Welcome everyone to my new stage and my podcast, Witness, where I'll be sharing with you stories of human encounters, soul family reunions, life's touch, the story of our collective journey, walking each other back home. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Witness. Today, I have with me Oscar, Lara, dear friend, past client, fellow ADHDer, although, as we like to describe it, we both share the ability to access directly higher dimensions without realizing it sometimes. Today we decided to share a little more of the instances that we witness each other over the last 15 years now, 10 years.
Yeah, just about.
On and off.
Yeah.
And share a little more of our human stories, of our human journey that might be a guiding point for someone else to follow. Welcome, Oscar. How are you today?
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm great. I'm great. Thank you. It's a sunny day here in Washington, so there's not a lot more I could ask for. But I'm having a great day, and also it's hard to think of how fast time has passed because when we say we met close to 10 years ago, I mean, it's flown by. Like, I still think it was 2 days ago or a month ago or a year ago. But wow, wow, how time flies. It's incredible.
It really feels like yesterday and a whole another lifetime ago.
A lifetime ago, exactly. A very different lifetime ago.
Very
You said it
different.
well. You said it well.
Yeah, when we met, it was actually in the beginning of my journey with my medical problems, with losing my voice. So you did witness me through that.
Yeah.
And the way we met, you were actually um, my ex-husband's boss at the time. That's how
Mhm.
we connected. I think we met in gathering for the company.
We did. Yeah, you did. And we also, you did some work, um, professional work with, um, I think back then it was like
Okay,
LinkedIn photo studio. Yeah.
I totally forgot about that. Yes,
Yeah. I
but I
remember,
was a photographer at the time. Yes,
yeah, I remember you doing that. And I just thought, man, Maria's really sharp. And, you had a big presence. And of course, yeah, really good friends with your ex-husband. And yeah, we met and I experienced you through, yeah, through that setting. But then way later on, um, thankfully we re-met, and yeah, and then you became my mentor, and yeah, I was in for a big treat that I didn't know I was in for. But I'm so thankful, so thankful. for you for so many reasons. So it's always good to chat with you, and yeah, and then hopefully today share some, some experiences that hopefully help others, and or at least offer, yeah, just a point of view that maybe some people know and maybe others don't. So yeah, thanks for having me. This is great.
I would like to ask one question on my guest, and usually that is, who are you? But I will give it a little twist for you as what you're sharing. Can you share with us who were you when um, we first started working relationship as a coach and mentor,
Yeah,
and who you became? Because
yeah,
you mentioned that you came into the coaching with one idea, and it turned
God.
out to be something much, much more expensive, didn't it?
Yes, 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 yes. I think about that question, like, who am I often? And I will say I'm definitely in the discovery of a lot of those answers, and I'll explain why in a second. But I will say who I was when we met. I was a very single focused, sort of narrow minded, not well rounded person. Um, I would almost say I lost myself, um, for a long time. And I think, you met me exactly at the cusp, at the height of that moment for me. Um, and little by little, you gave me enough light and enough insight for me to discover and reconnect with truly more of myself, holistically. Um, because, like I said, I was just so narrow minded, and I was really following this path of believing that I was my work, or my performance, in the financial sense or in the career sense, was really who I was. And I actually received your coaching thinking that's where you're going to help me get better at. Um, Not because that's what you told me, but that's because I just assumed, hey, I have a coach and a performance coach. So great, I got to get better at this, profession, career, this goal setting. And little did I know I was going to get a completely different view of what I needed to focus on. And gosh, that helped me in so many ways. So who I was a very narrow-minded, focused individual. And then who I am today, I am a much more complete version of who I've been this whole time. Whether it's truly knowing who I am internally, uh, what I care about truly, not in the external sense, but truly what gives me peace internally, how I am as a person that impacts others, um, and I can't say I'm in this fully realized version of myself, but I'm sure, you know, such a better spot, just everywhere, everywhere. So yeah, I have to thank you for that, because you were really the reason that I got to let go of so many of those ideas that I had that were honestly so narrow minded. And you really helped me just open my eyes again and reconnect with who I really am. Um, and I just don't know that I would have done that if we hadn't met. And maybe I would have, but maybe I wouldn't have. But I sure know that you did that for me. So yeah, I'm so thankful. So
No,
thankful.
we've said it so many times. No random meetings, no random occurrences. I think
I believe that.
you or I came back to your life at exactly the moment you said you were on the cusp, but to translate it in a little more elevated experience, you were in the middle of your own spiritual awakening. You were in the middle of realizing I do have it all,
Yeah.
and yet why I don't feel like I have it all, and I know that there is a lot more. You are not being yourself as I witness you.
Yeah.
You are so intuitive, and you are suppressing that part of yourself to fit into the societal norms and programming.
Exactly.
You were trying to be logical, and not that you're not logical. I mean, the way, again, we've had this conversation, the way our brains work is so fascinating that we both can be very logical and intuitive at the same time, and we can see things that others cannot.
Yeah.
But when I met you, you were not allowing that side of you to shine and to help you, and rather you were hiding, trying to be someone else, and you were frustrated that you are not using your full potential, and that other people cannot see what you see.
Yeah. I remember that.
So
Yes, I remember that.
it
Wow.
was beautiful. It was beautiful to witness. It wasn't really that your relationship with honor changed, but just witnessing yourself and understanding yourself more allowed such a wider view of how you can actually contribute to everyone around you.
That's absolutely. I think the easiest way to explain it, now that I'm like really going back to that moment, is I was chasing this one thing which at some point I thought was reality, which is again career, um, prof- the profession, your status, your title. That is the definition of success, and that point, I thought that was it. And the way I wanted to be successful was by chasing more of what gave me the feeling of success. So I just needed to put the goal even further out. And instead of being, one title, I wanted the next one and the next one. And I thought more of that was going to define really my life and who I was, and what gave me my worth, instead of maybe asking myself, hey, the fact that I'm chasing this so much maybe is what is causing everything else not to be so great. And maybe if I just pause and take a look around and get a wider view, then maybe, just maybe, um, other things will fall into place. And maybe that is what would give me a better sense of accomplishment and quote unquote success. And back then, that was kind of the beginning of, oh, wait, the goal wasn't even the right goal in the first place. Um, I really need to rethink how I'm viewing things, and also change what is the definition of success? Success for what? For who? To impress who? To for what? It's not like I'm gonna pay somebody else's bills or they're gonna pay mine. So why am I really trying to get this status or this next thing, or when really I'm living a life that I have a lot to be thankful for today, without chasing this never ending goal, because it literally is, it can't be fulfilling because it's not complete in the first place. So it's like, how can something fulfill you that is itself not complete by definition? Because there's so much more out there. So, yeah, the way I wanted to get out of the hole was by digging a deeper hole, and I think you gave me some stairs and some steps for me to go, oh no, that's actually not the right way, my friend. You should probably go a different way. And yeah, that was a big pivotal moment for me to start really thinking about things differently and challenging my point of view, and really, yeah, really start to get out of that pathway that I was really thinking was the right one, and it wasn't. For so many reasons it wasn't.
Mm.
um, yeah, so happy to say that is yeah, that is really behind me at this point. I really don't think that's it. um, I feel I know that's not it. So um, yeah, yeah, but yeah, it took a while for me to realize that. And again, I thank you for changing my, I don't want to say changing my mindset, but it's almost like you showed me how much more there was. And I remember this exercise we did together where it was this wheel of life, and it has different criteria like friendship and family and time to reconnect with yourself and time to learn and time for your health. And it's this like bigger wheel. And I just remember that the only thing I was scoring high on was work, and everything else was like, from a 1 to 10 I was like in a 2 or in a 3. And obviously that's not a well-rounded person, and not even a
I,
happy person. So
I remember that it was work, and then it was time for myself, time for family, one, two, and it was oh, I don't need time for myself. I'm good. Good for how long? How long? How long you can do this and still be good? So yeah, it was definitely interesting transition to witness you through. And
Yeah.
I'm appreciative that I was allowed to be on time and walk by your side through the journey. Another interesting thing that I witnessed you in this connection, and I jokingly shared it in the introduction, shortly before starting our sessions, you realized or you were diagnosed with adult ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
And through your shares, in a
Yes.
way, I was like, oh my God, that sounds exactly like me.
Mm.
And then through the practice, because we had the coaching experience for a few months, it
Yeah.
was my everything. It was everyone around me, other clients with ADHD, my son had experiences, your little one
Yes.
had his own experiences. I think other people around you.
Yeah.
Well, it was one of those ADHD, ADHD. So why we were drawn on this information, and we were discovering that, oh, that might not be a bad thing after all, because yeah, our brains work a little different, but because the way they work, see how much more we can create and see and share
Mm-hmm.
with others. Because more of us, we realize that we have very fast working brains that see rapidly connections and outcomes and patterns that others don't see.
Oh yeah.
So you can say right away, well, this will happen, but then how do you explain? How do you know that? Because for the people that don't have that process, it's hard to comprehend so much information at once. And realizing that is, oh, okay, it's not that I don't know, it's just other people cannot process information like me,
Yes.
kind of thing. So, shortly, giving you the opportunity to share some of your aha moments on this journey.
Yeah. Yeah, and right before this call too, the ADHD impacted the me jumping on the call because, like you said, and I know we're gonna talk a lot more about ADHD and at least what our experiences have been, and of course I'll share my experience. But um, right before this call, for some reason, I you and I had a conversation via text message, agreeing on the time when we would have this conversation, and I know that part of that conversation was two options for two different dates. And we agreed that it would be today, Thursday, but the other um, but the conversation via text was Thursday or Friday. So somehow in my head, I locked in a visual of the text message conversation. And the visual that I somehow remembered was Friday. So even though I agreed to Thursday, in my head, we were meeting on Friday. So much so that today you texted me and you sent me a link for the call, and I responded to it, and I was like, yeah, of course, I'll be on. Not realizing that you were telling me, you're right, we're going to jump in pretty soon. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, I'll be ready for tomorrow. Because I have this picture in my head that's still there that says Friday of the text message with the blue bubble. So, um, yeah, ADHD is just affects so many things in our day to day. How we view the world, how we think, how we remember things or don't remember things. Um, but also how perceptive, how easy big picture becomes, how ideas are just constantly firing all the time. This amazing curiosity, this bursts of energy, like so many things and so many positive things that I truly believe are positive and necessary, but also it gets us in trouble with the little things, right? Like some really small details that could be a big deal, just boop, escape you. You're like, oh wow, and I'll just share, for instance, my wife, which I admire how organized and how easy it is for her to stay on track and be so methodical and so planful and proactive. Genuinely, I'm like, wow, that is hell of a skill. But just like that, she is like that. She thinks like that. She has that ability where I'm almost like, it's almost blurry to me to be, it's that comes to me, that comes like as something that I have to try and do, but it's not so natural to me. Whereas other things are just so natural and so easy, and like, of course, makes a lot of sense. And others out that wasn't so obvious. That wasn't that wasn't in the manual. That wasn't in the instructions. That wasn't in the directions, and we could see that so easily. We may not need those step by step instructions, and we can just figure things out. So yeah, blessing and a curse for sure, but yeah, it even impacted our call, and I just, yeah, wanted to share that because some people might think, gosh, this person doesn't care, or and it's not that. It's just a way the brain works that's very different um, than others, and that's totally cool. But
It's not time blindness, and on a more elevated plane is we are not designed to work in linear time. I
yeah,
mean, time is a made up construct here in this reality that somebody said is time today is Thursday and not Friday, but in another reality it might be Sunday. So our brains are not really locked into following a linear time. We work on multidimensional time. And to visualize it, because both of us see things in movies and pictures rather than words,
Yes.
it's like we cannot work on just one level. Let's say we're in a building, we're in the building and we need to work only on the third floor. The way we are designed, we work on the third, on the fifth, on the 11th, 12th, and somebody else simultaneously. All
Agree.
different projects,
Yes.
moving parts. It's just we are not designed. But again, it's not good for the construct in society that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
But as multidimensional beings, we are functioning pretty normal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And just
Yes.
understanding and realizing and allowing ourselves to know that help us both to give ourselves a little break and also to try to think ways that using our experiences we can actually share with others.
Mm-hmm.
So more people have understanding of you're not enough as you are.
Yeah.
You're more than enough, and your abilities are contributing even more and will be contributing even more further down the road. It's
Yes.
the systems that are not ready to adjust yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember, even as a kid, growing up in Mexico, I was there through the sixth grade, and of course, the conventional wisdom was that, you know, my our intelligence depended on memorizing and and falling into a mold that was exactly how uh, teachers or parents wanted us to be, which was not inquisitive, to follow directions, to memorize, to follow the rules, if you will. Um, but to a point where, of course, to a child, especially somebody, now that I realize I have ADHD, following those rules, quote unquote, was never necessarily going to happen. I was going to follow the rules that I wanted to follow, the ones that I thought were good for me, and the ones that I just didn't see value in. There's no reason for me to follow because I just didn't care for them.
It
And
doesn't make sense.
it didn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Why? It doesn't make sense.
Didn't, and no, I never did. And of course, I was the kid that was chatty, and that the teachers always had to move to a different side of the room, and would sit me down with the quiet person. And then next week, that quiet person was no longer quiet because I was more interested in talking to them than on listening about, whatever the Mayans did however long ago. So, um, so I couldn't fit the mold of follow the rules. Just I couldn't. Now, if something was really interesting, or there was a creative project or something to that effect, oh gosh, you had me through the roof. I was attentive and I tried so hard, and every little detail became really important, because then I could be my creative self and use different skills that were really more normal for me and easier because that was really who I was. Again, versus having to memorize a whole paragraph, because having the ability to memorize and then later on writing that down somewhere else was seen as the answer for me being a good student. And it just obviously it never worked with me. I was better at questioning what I was being presented than at literally memorizing and then repeating it back. I could do that to some degree, but I just didn't really do much for me and never stimulated me and never really captured my attention, versus teachers that would just let me explore and think through stuff and have a deeper conversation, or maybe if it wasn't a deeper conversation, it was just a two-way dialogue, that would really capture my mind. And then at that point, you probably couldn't find a better student because I genuinely was interested and curious. So, um, that happened for years and years and years. And yeah, at some point I realized, like, oh gosh, I've always known I'm like this, but I never so much knew why I couldn't pay attention to some things that people asked me to pay attention to, and I just completely dismissed and disregard and just didn't care. And I would challenge. I would challenge. I would get more out of challenging than out of the task at hand. And in order for me to do the task at hand, I'd have to like really believe and see the why. And if I didn't get the why, I just couldn't. And gosh, I have since that time, I've really questioned, gosh, what would it have been if I was in a different environment where it was just more conducive to somebody with a brain like mine, um, versus what I was brought up through this one system that just never really going to do a lot for me. Besides the human interaction, the meeting people, the fun I would have with certain topics, and the fun I would have with challenging authority or challenging some conventional wisdom, or seeing how my relationship was with the teacher and seeing how I could improve that, and how could I influence other classmates or find people that were like me, et cetera, et cetera. So school really for me stopped being about learning, and it started to be about really social interactions and what what those did not only in my day to day, but it had really nothing to do with school at some point. It had everything to do with my experience with other folks. And, you know, you mentioned being intuitive at the beginning. I mean, gosh, you can't get more intuitive than really understanding social dynamics um, and your interactions with others. And that I feel like I really got joy out of that, not so much the school and the, you know, kind of that forceful, like, hey, you got to just memorize or read whatever thing. And you know, I'm going to ask you about it later on, which really was honestly because I wasn't following rules. And I didn't even necessarily care to not follow the rule because I just thought, oh, wait, like you want me to do that, but I just don't really see why I need to do that. So besides getting a passing grade, beyond that, if you know if the topic wasn't stimulating enough or the teacher wasn't presented in a certain way, I just needed to do the bare minimum to fulfill what they needed me to do without having the consequences of not moving on to the next grade or, you know, failing the exam or whatever. So
Yet at the same time, from my remembrance, you shared having the anxiety of
mm,
performing and being
yeah.
um, good enough.
Mm,
And I think it's something worth mentioning. It was a
yeah.
beautiful timing and everything to witness you because as you were sharing
Yeah.
about your childhood and how you experienced it, I was seeing my son through different eyes. I was seeing how his experience can be different. I cannot I could not change the system,
Mm-hmm.
but I could change how I was supporting him
Yes.
in a way because so many kids that are labeled with ADHD through almost kindergarten,
Yeah.
4 or 5 years old, they're being told you're not good enough as you are. And
Yes, you're doing
for
something wrong.
a young child that is learning about the world,
Mm-hmm.
it's like why I cannot get it, why I cannot do it.
Yeah.
And it was just me focusing the shift into supporting and nurturing what he actually likes and what he actually thrives.
Yeah.
It was being able to balance a little bit the effect of the system. So it's
Yeah.
not, I know you met, as I was sharing my experiences, I clearly remember
Yeah. Yeah.
in
So
one of
many.
our sessions, you were like, oh, he's lucky he has you as a parent. And I'm like, isn't it like this that all parents are doing it? So that was another moment because for me, I grew up in Bulgaria where it's the system is totally different, or it was at the time.
Yeah.
Um, but a lot of his symptoms
Mm-hmm.
were normal for me because I knew that he needs more proprioceptive input. He needs more outside time. He needs more grounding, walking on grass barefoot, because it's very important for us that we're multidimensionally to be grounded as ourselves. And me having the opportunity to stay with them and work from home until he was 5, we never really had the problems until he went to school, and all of a sudden it was, you cannot do this. You need to sit still. You need to be this. It's like making a fish, teaching a fish climb a tree.
Yeah.
No matter how good the fish gets into climbing a tree,
Yeah.
fish is a fish. Fish
Exactly.
is designed to swim in the ocean.
Yes. Yes.
And
It's yeah.
and we've shared this sentiment many times now. I don't know what the answer is, but there should be a different way.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah.
yes, we can find a way to mask, to go around. And it was interesting in my own experience. I was sharing again, as you were sharing, I was, oh my God, that's why when I was in school in pretty much high school, university, all of it, learning was so different, or I had a different way of learning. First of all, most of the time I needed to do it right before the exam in the night when everybody is sleeping. There is no input because as an intuitive as I was feeling everybody's energy during the day. So when people are sleeping at night, it's kind of okay, I can hear my own thoughts. And then it's like, oh, I hear too many, it's too silent. Then
Yeah.
when I was reading a book, I needed to always I had the music on, something,
Yeah.
usually a language that I don't speak, so I don't start singing the songs, but some kind of background music to
Mm-hmm.
occupy one. And then I've shared I could not just read the book and comprehend it. I had to translate it into a visual input. So I would highlight, I would go through the book, even not paying attention, highlight the important parts,
Mm.
and then go over it the second time, just reading the highlights. And in my mind, I was remembering it as pictures,
Yes.
not information. When I was doing a test and there was a question, I could pull out the picture on the page And because I anchored it into the words, I knew exactly what the answer is, but I was seeing them both as a flashcards in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was my way of processing information. And I could process incredible amount of information in
Yeah.
one night. I could not retain much of it afterwards, but well, it worked out for what they wanted me to do. So it
Yeah.
was interesting. I think we shared a video and it was asking how does your brain think? And you were sharing
Hmm.
that it thinks in pictures and mine thinks in a whole video production.
Yeah.
It's I have multiple cameras
Yes.
focused on every one of the subjects from different angles. I have a narrator saying the main story. I have a whole crew explaining what everyone needs to know, where they need to be, and I'm there in my head trying to control everybody, or I was trying to control all of it,
Hmm.
and the kind of breakthrough moment was you know what, I can go back,
Yeah.
give everyone a chance to do their own thing, and I
Yes.
can be the producer and just or the CEO and just manage the bigger picture, not
Yes.
trying to get every single piece of that production, if that makes sense.
It does make a lot of sense. And you just reminded me too, you know, at least from what I have either read or through conversations, ADHD shows up different in guys or men and women or boys and girls. Um, most people think it's the hyperactivity, right? So you see uh, I have a toddler, my son, and I have a daughter, and they're twins, and it's so easy to see um, when you see a child that is hyper and it's all over the place, and then you see that same kid at 5 or 7 or 10, and you go, oh yeah, they probably they have ADHD. So then people get curious, parents get curious, and then they take them, they get diagnosed, and then that happens. um, but as far as I understand women, it shows up very differently, and you don't have that hyperactivity, and so it's disguised, or it's uncovered, or it goes unnoticed because you're not, parents aren't getting that visual cue um, that usually boys exhibit. So even that in itself is just shows up different. So when I would meet women with ADHD that would tell me, "Hey, I have ADHD," I would say, "There's no way you have this. I don't see any of the same traits or symptoms that I feel like I've experienced my whole life." And then realizing, hey, it doesn't doesn't show up in the same ways. You wouldn't see it in the same ways, but it's there, you know. And so even that in itself is just, it varies, right? Um, and so to your point about how to fix this matter, of course, I don't have the answer at all. However, I do have the belief that if, you know, kids were properly assessed, you know, early in life, and if teachers had more tools or an education around what to do with different um, learning styles or um, yeah, learning abilities from kids. And then there were also, it's not only identifying it, knowing what to do with it, but then them having the resources to properly, you know, educate this type of child, then gosh, that would be a big step in the right direction. Because again, it's not, you know, it's, everyone has a kind of unique set of skills and a unique way of learning and interest, and understanding that from the beginning, it makes a big difference, because then you're no longer trying to make this fish get on the tree. You're trying to get this fish to swim, you know, all sorts of ways and do it even better than ever. So then they could be the best fish they could be, not the best climber of a tree that they could be, because they're going to try for a long time and still not do it as easy as it would come to a bear or, you know, a cat. So um, I think just even understanding that. Now, I think there's more awareness, but you, you and I experience a system that wasn't even aware, right? My parents weren't aware. So if they're not even aware this is a thing, how could they possibly have helped us? They couldn't have. So thankfully, there's awareness around it now. At least I know today is a bigger part of the conversation and it's more quote unquote normal. However, um, you know, we didn't even have that that choice, because, you know, our parents weren't even aware of it. So hopefully the conversation continues to evolve and grow, but understanding from the beginning these basic things. Hey, what is this ADHD thing? What is this? How does that affect a child? How, in that, once you understand how does it affect, how does that brain work, great, then how would we educate somebody that has that and take advantage of those qualities? Because again, there's a lot of qualities. We usually talk about ADHD in the like handicap way, but actually no, just like the fish could do amazing things in the water. um, Again, how do we enable that and really get the most out of those skills and abilities? And it's, for instance, something that comes, that's really obvious to me now. I was that kid that you couldn't, I couldn't stop talking. I literally could not stop talking. I would just chat and chat and chat. My social skills were much higher than probably my peers. So instead of, you know, the teacher going, hey, this kid needs more discipline and he needs to follow the rules a little better, the feedback to my parents could have been, hey, this kid seems to be high on social skills and verbal skills. And so leadership is easy for this type of individual, communication skills are easy, um, social skills are easy. Why don't we look into how do we hone those in and tailor those, because that is a great skill set of things to have, versus, hey, let's suppress all of that. Let's quiet. Let's put water on that. That needs to stop. And let's try to make them everything they're not.
Like that
And
you are,
it's like, holy shit.
I like that you are describing this. Allow them to be who you are, because you started with assess them better and earlier, and I kind of want to, how do I say this? From my point of view, it's not that much assessing them to realize that they are not typical, then assessing them how they are unique. And you pointed out the difference.
Yeah.
The first one will be, oh, let's assess all the children. 3, you're different. Okay, we need to teach you different.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty much how it is now. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, your kids are tiny yet, but you see growing up. Whether I see it, that it almost, we need to give back the children their right to play.
Mm.
And play as being present, listening with attention to their, to like, so if you see a play, the one will be your own knowing, your own body. I
Yeah.
think this is where we're losing the process or losing the model, or where the breaking point is that we're trying to fit the children to the system that is a system that is focused outside of you. Full circle to the beginning of our conversation
Yeah.
of you being on the adult, focusing success of something that is outside of you. And through your awakening, going back inwards, remembering who you are, that who you are and the way you are has been actually perfectly enough
Mm-hmm.
all the way through your 30 plus years of existence.
Mm-hmm.
So think about going backwards and raising the children in such a way that they remember to play, to be
Mm-hmm.
present, to listen with attention to their self. And we as the parents allow them to play. We're not trying to fit them into what is convenient for us. We had
Exactly.
we had that conversation when you were saying Enzo is climbing cabinets or something, and I was like,
Yeah.
and how is that bad? But if
Yeah.
you think about every no, don't do this, it's a no, don't be yourself. And how many times we say a no because we as the parents, as the adults, are trying to make it more convenient for you. Don't
Yes.
climb there because you're gonna make a mess and I need
Exactly.
to clean it up.
Yeah.
Or don't climb it because if somebody sees that you're climbing, they will say that I'm not a good parent because I'm not teaching you properly.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's almost as, I mean, it cannot happen overnight, but first of all, it really starts with us going back into who we are and really as we witness them, witnessing our own child, inner child. You mentioned, I see myself in him.
Mm-hmm.
There is a reason why those kids are sent to us and they perfectly know how to push our buttons
Yeah.
because,
True.
in all honesty, parenting is not raising them, it's reparenting or an opportunity to reparent your inner child, to heal your inner wounds. It's a way that through witnessing them and witnessing our triggers with them, it's an information that allows us to heal
Yeah.
all those wounds that we have as children.
Yes.
And that goes for every human being. I mean, it's part of our learning. It's the
Mm-hmm.
fun. It's the fun that we came here to learn. But I see it as an opportunity for all of us to grow as a collective because if so many children are coming into the collective in growing numbers every year, more and more children are labeled as neurodivergent. It makes you think as a collective,
Yes.
what is this here to teach us? What this collective of children thinking different, being so bright, is here to teach us how we can learn from them instead of trying to make them, to teach them things that obviously are not working.
Yeah.
Because if what we were teaching them was working, we will not be here.
Oh yeah.
We will
Yeah.
not be witnessing what we are witnessing in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you shift your perspective in such a way, the picture gets so much bigger and so much more clearer all of a sudden. It's like, oh, okay, now I see it.
Yes. Yes, I just think we, kind of to your point about seeing us and our children, I certainly see me, my boy. Um, a lot of the things we try to do is because again, it's things we've been told that we haven't really questioned or really taken the time to think through. What is the impact on a child if I do this? Because I mean, your children are gonna believe you. Whether you tell them they're great or they're not great, whether you tell them that they're smart or they're not, or they're a good person or they're a troublemaker, right? They're going to believe you. So you really need to question and try to understand, what is the impact of um, how I'm acting? What is the impact on this child? And again, it's, if you have kids, you understand. You mean nothing but the best for your kids. That is literally all your intent. If you know your parents, that's all they tried for you. But, a lot of the times we just don't have the right view of things, or we're repeating whatever we think was the right thing in the first place. And so I heard the other day somebody say something like, you didn't have children to have a clean house, right? That wasn't the point. Um, because you always think, hey, to your comment earlier, I don't want it to get dirty. I don't want you to throw this. If I give you access to, the food cabinet, you're gonna throw the stuff on the floor, and we're gonna have to clean it up, and it's gonna get messy. But children are just curious. They just want to learn. They want to interact. My son loves to throw stuff on the floor. I am convinced this kid just wants to understand what happens when you throw stuff on the floor, and he throws everything on the floor. I mean, everything. So, um, of course, I don't want him to make a mess. I don't want to clean up. But at the same time, all he's doing is he's just being curious and exploring, and that's all he wants to do. So it doesn't come from a different place. So I often have to check myself and and find a way to let him be who he is and explore, instead of me defaulting to, well, this is going to be more stress for me later, more time for me later, which is a natural thing to do as a parent, because you already have a life, you already have a spouse or a job or your own things happening, whatever it is. Maybe you're ill, maybe you wanted to go work out, maybe you want to watch a show. You already have your things happening, and then you know that by you allowing or not allowing, that's going to impact other things. So in terms of time, so a lot of times you try to control your environment based on that. So again, you really have to just be introspective and think, take a look at the big picture, take a look at what your role really is, and that is to let your children explore and find out who they really are and give them those tools, versus how can I make this 100% about how convenient it's going to be for me throughout the day. So um constant learning, constant evolving, and constant just reassessing. um and
Yeah.
I think that's the hard part, because it's hard for you to see, truly how things are, the realities. Um, because again, you've already been told so much, and you almost believe or view the world a certain way based on all your experiences. Um, so I think that's such a challenge, but it's also the best reward, because when you kind of open your eyes a little bigger, you go, oh, maybe that's not so bad. Like maybe if I let my child explore, um, maybe he gets more familiar with something, and maybe he stops dropping the flour all over the floor. Next time he tries to put it in the bowl, and next thing you know, next year he's actually really good at mixing flour and water and an egg together, and now we're learning how to cook together, and now they love doing that, and now that's something we do as a family, versus me oppressing that curiosity from the get-go, just so again it was more convenient. And those little aha moments feel so good, and I'm sure they feel even. I mean, I'm talking about my experience, but
Yeah,
the children, that's great. So
I have
anyway,
I have a beautiful memory with my son, and the first time he managed to open the pantry and discover flour, and it was one of those moments as a parent. Do I yell at him, or I just grab the camera and make a video? And now 10 years later, we so much appreciate that video of him exploring the world, because after all, what we forget, they're here having their own human experience.
experience, yeah,
It's not about us. They're
yeah,
not here to get back on us. They're
yeah,
not throwing stuff to get us mad. They're just throwing to see how their body works,
yeah,
how they're experimenters. They're in constant experiment. If you see
yes,
them as a little geniuses having constant research, that's
yeah,
what kids are. So
yes, 100%.
it's those little things worth remembering. This was a beautiful conversation.
Mm,
We will have more opportunities to reconnect and chat more and share more experiences. For now,
yes,
any final words for the people watching this?
yes,
What
yes,
is the
absolutely.
one message you want them to remember out of this?
I think I would just invite everybody to be as curious as possible. Um, we're just talking about kids and their characteristics, and if you think about it, they're the most curious, and they're almost like little scientists. Like really, a scientist that gets paid a lot of money today is extremely curious and has an open mind. And somehow through life, and I know why. We get conditioned to fit in a system that is bigger than all of us, one individual, and we fit into the system. Um, but at some point, we kind of lose that curiosity, and we accept, and we just accept, and we stop questioning. So, um, I would say that's my message. Be curious, stay curious. Um, you're just going to be surprised by what you uncover when you have an open mind. Um, I'm definitely in that process and in that journey, but every time I have an open mind and my eyes get a little wider, it just makes things that were difficult easier, and things that I wasn't accepting of, I'm all of a sudden able to accept, including myself. So don't lose that curiosity, and I hope that everyone here, gets time to be introspective, make time for yourselves, and get that curiosity. Because once you discover what's out there, I mean, gosh, it's so rewarding and it's so eye opening. Um, so just like you told me a long time ago, hey, I'm here to help you rediscover yourself, and you did that for me. I hope that I can share the same message and do that for others. Rediscover, be curious. So thanks for having me. I'll be back on anytime you want, and thank you for all you've done for me. Seriously, you've done so much.
Beautifully said, beautiful message, and beautiful invitation for everyone, and a reminder that yes, we were talking about our kids,
Mm-hmm.
but in a way, we are all kids, children, here on earth, having our own experience, and sooner we reconnect with that curiosity, childlike innocence that we came with,
Mm-hmm.
sooner we'll be able to see and appreciate everything around us much more.
Yeah.
Thank you all for listening. If that conversation inspired you, give the channel a like, subscribe, and share so more people can connect with our stories. Thank you again. See you next time.
Mm-hmm.